You are listening to Castles and Cryptids, where the castles are haunted and the cryptids are cryptic as fuck. And the hosts are hilarious. No.
So funny. You're so
I'm
funny.
not conceited, I'm convinced, as Pat would say.
I like that.
Oh, my man's fond of saying that one. I don't know where he got it from. I've never heard it before in my life.
Yeah, me neither.
Oh, like the BuzzFeed quiz I took where it was like, do you know this Canadian slang? And I was like, is it going to be proper Canadian slang?
Yeah, 90% of it makes no sense. I'm like, I've never heard that.
It was pretty hit or miss. Somebody was like, who wrote this? Do they only live in Newfoundland?
That's a big problem.
But as a PSA to our American friends, if anybody tells you that our $1 bill is called, or what? Our $1 bill.
It used to.
We haven't had those in a while.
Yeah, I was gonna say we used to have $1.
I remember $2 bills. Those were eradicated in my lifetime in Canada. But no, if anyone tells you our $1 coin is called a oney, they are lying. It's called a loonie.
Yeah, a oney?
A oney. Well, because
never-
the $2. No, I saw some people comment that they try to teach their American friends that the $1 coin is called a oney because the $2 coin is called a toonie, which is correct, as you know. But
Yeah.
no, we call our $1 coin a loonie because there's a loon on it, a lovely Canadian loon.
I have a question. For toonie, is it spelled like the number 2 or like too many? I'm Googling this. Toonie.
I always spell it incorrectly, as I have recently learned. It's apparently spelled
T-O-O.
Toonie. Yeah,
so
I
why
would have thought it. Yeah,
Yeah, we
it makes no
definitely
sense.
wouldn't call... If toonie, I feel like they call it a toonie T-O-O as a play off of the loony being L-O-O. So then if we called
like-
it toonie spelled T-W-O, maybe we'd call a loony a oney. But it wouldn't
Maybe.
make sense otherwise.
Who knows?
Yeah.
This
Okay.
sounds like
This has been
musings
a
of
spelling
very high
lesson.
people.
Too much time on their hands.
Shower thoughts.
Yeah. When you just zone out in the shower and you're like, why is it called a toonie?
But seriously, I was spelling it T-W-O because I thought two. Like, what the hell does toonie mean then? Cartoony? It's like the whole, what the hell is it called? Mandela effect with the Looney Tunes. But for Looney Tunes, you know how tunes is spelled, right? It's spelled like, tunes, like musical tunes. Which doesn't really make sense.
I don't know, man. Nothing ever makes sense. I give up. I give up trying to
Time has no meaning.
Yeah.
Life has no meaning.
I've given up on trying that. I'll never be successful at spelling or grammar or words or anything. I'm just gonna have very niche like things I'm experts on, and then that'll be it.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's all we really need. You
I
just
won't.
need that one weird fact that sticks in someone's head.
Yeah. I don't need to know basic math. I can barely get by without a calculator.
Oh, speaking of math, this is episode 36.
Yeah.
Woo!
Mm-hmm.
And I decided it was called Sinister Ships because that sounds better than
Sinister
spooky. Yeah.
I just had it called Haunted Ships.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Haunted ships. Mine's more of a ghost ship, though. Ooh.
Yeah, mine's like haunted. It's legit haunted. But yeah, when you Google like haunted ships or like ships with ghosts on them and stuff, a lot of times it does come up with like the ghost ships that
Yeah.
happened.
Ghost ships been around in folklore for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. But before we get into that, I know we don't have a segment on our show where we ask each other, you know, what's our problem this week or why we drink or anything like that.
Yeah.
But we did talk a little bit about what a week we've had. For
Yeah.
any of those of you who don't live in Edmonton, we had a winter storm that was like winter came in like a lion,
Yeah, it
as
was
they say.
insane.
Like a foot of snow. Yes, sometimes we say foot in Canada. When you're talking about snow, it just I don't know.
Yeah.
Nobody's like, we got a meter of snow, you know?
That would be. I would not leave my house if we had a meter of snow.
I still, every time we get a friggin' dump like this, or it goes minus 40 Celsius, I'm like, does Alberta, like, never close anything? I honestly get so baffled
I
having
know,
grown up.
right?
Yeah.
The one girl, who was I talking to at my work? Uh, she used to live, I'm positive it's in Russia.
Oh, whoa.
And yeah, she's lived a few
They
different
would know
places.
winter. Sorry.
Yeah, but she
Yeah.
told me that the kids at school, if it gets below minus like 15 or 20, the buses, I think it was like minus 15 because it was something insane. And she said the buses don't run.
Celsius. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God. I'm like, I'm pretty sure they probably used to do that here. And then it happened so often. They're like, kids can't be missing that many days of school. Let's put it at minus 20. And then it just kept getting, and now it's like minus 30 before the wind chill, it has to be or something.
It must, because the 10 or so, 11, 12, whatever years I've lived
Yeah.
here, I'm like, Rain, do you ever remember them canceling school? She's like, I think in Norwood, which was her elementary school. So
Yeah.
it's like maybe like once or twice, which I was just like, wow, that's crazy.
Because I don't think like that, they never canceled school this, like when I was in high school. And I remember it like, it was canceled for almost a week and a half when I was in middle
Oh,
school. And finally they're like, no, like the kids either have to come in or like they just had to restart school. Like just no, we can't keep like putting it off and doing movie days and like the bus kids not coming in. So they're like, no, like either you make it in or you've missed a class now.
going back to the roots of trudging uphill in snowstorms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
Hopefully
like,
with COVID, it'll be different now that we have online options.
yeah.
Going forward.
Yeah, that makes it better.
But yeah, if you were to ask me how my week was, then
Yeah. How
I,
was it?
I would tell you. So it started out okay, but then it kind of degraded into a series of unfortunate events. Yeah, that snow
No.
was
Yeah.
horrible. I remember being on like Reddit on Monday on the Edmonton subreddit, and like some tow truck driver being like, if you don't have to go anywhere today, just don't. Just stay
Yeah.
home, please. I've seen so many accidents, the more that I've seen in like 5 years, and it's all just, it's just terrible. Like the roads
Yeah.
were just terrible and whatever, and people getting in accidents and all sorts of things. And I have a crappy old car, and I drove Pat's car for most of the week, which was great because he's got like 4-wheel drive and a newer Ford Edge and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so much better. And it's like we made it to work, however long it took every day this week.
Oh, that would have. Yeah.
Oh yeah, my commute pretty much doubled because it's about 30, 35, 40 minutes depending, on traffic and time of day. But now it was like at least an hour most days.
Oh, that's all.
I know I was getting back pain. I don't know. I was like, I just want to get home and stuff like that. But then, what was it? They were also gonna fix at work. We have this heater thing. I don't know, heating some sort of mechanism thing on the roof that they had to work on again, that they had worked on in the summer and had to turn our air conditioning off in the summer, and it had got really hot. But this time they were like, oh, it's winter, we'll have to turn it off and then have to maybe turn the heat off. But we tested it when you guys weren't here at work, and it's still going to be like workable. You can come to work and it'll be like 20, 21 degrees in there. But if you guys want to wear your pajamas on Thursday, go ahead, because it might be chilly in there. So we all wore our pajamas on Thursday.
Was
And
it
it ended up,
super hot in there?
yes, it ended up being close. It was like 25 degrees Celsius, which is probably like something in the 70s or maybe 80s Fahrenheit.
That's awful. No.
Which it had been hot in the summer when they worked on it, but we thought that's because they had to turn the air conditioning off because it was the summer. Like, duh.
Yeah. That
So it was hot.
sounds like our old office. People used heaters as often in the summer as they did in the winter because it was
At the West office?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Because of that whole office winter. I don't know if it was you that sent me that sketch that's like, office winter, you didn't bring a sweater, you dumbass. But it's a real thing here. Yeah, it's like over air conditioning. Yeah. But yeah, so this is like, it's harder to work, and I was really feeling kind of like my brain was half melted at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And so whatever, I was finally off, and then like go out to the car, and I'm in Pat's car, and then I had to park in a different like parking lane than I usually do because the people working on the roof had taken up like the first third of the parking lot with these giant ass cranes and a bunch of shit. So I just wanted to park with the rest of the cars that were in like 2 lanes. Just, yeah, I didn't want to do anything to hurt Pat's car. That's his baby. So I just wanted to take it easy. And then I get out there and I'm like ready to go home and it's dark and yeah, like I say, my brain feels half melted and I'm not parked in my normal thing. And then I go to back out and then I hear like crunch and I'm like, oh my God, I just fucking backing out like an idiot, forgot about or didn't pay attention to where the concrete pillars are, where they have the plug-in stations, because it gets to -40 here. Sometimes you have to plug your fucking car in.
Yeah.
So they have these little, squat little concrete pillars, and I like was looking at the back, and my front end, his front end, scraped the fucking concrete pillar and like scraped the whole wheel well of his car. And I thought, well, it's just a scrape. That's really shitty. But it's like, no, it's dented a little bit.
Yeah.
And that was my shitty situation this week.
Oh my God, that sucks. Yeah, you've had a week. Jesus.
But the good news is he has some accident forgiveness and his rates won't go up, but we'll have to pay a deductible for the fixing of the vehicle.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh. Gosh.
Yeah, you know how that is. You've dealt in insurance.
Yeah, good thing he had accident forgiveness too.
I know. Yeah. Well, he thought they were like, well, you had her listed as a driver, but she's not a driver, so we don't know if accident forgiveness applies. And by the first phone call, he was pretty upset, but then by the second person he talked to, they were like, no, you've got accident forgiveness, so that's the good news. And we're like, oh, okay, great.
Yeah, because like God. You have your own car.
Mm-hmm. And I just wasn't driving it because it's not as winter great. It's older.
Yeah.
So it's got some issues. But anyway, we're here.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're gonna talk about some ships. But that was a bit, why it's like I'm excited to be able to relax a little.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. That's crazy. Well, at least you're okay, and sounds like things are gonna work out.
Yeah. I was just, it was one of those where like, you're like, great, now I have to tell them. You're like, I kind of wish I could just lie. But that wouldn't fly, so.
No, you should never do stuff like that.
No,
Honesty's
I'm actually a terrible
policy.
Liar. Yeah. It's just rough when you know the person's gonna freak out.
Yeah.
Or at least be upset. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember now. I was gonna tell you. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, mentally. On this Friday evening while we record.
Yay! It's nice to record today. Mm-hmm. And then I had the day off, actually, because we just finished the renewals we had to do for vehicles this month. So it was like there wasn't going to be very much work to do there today. So
nice.
They're like, it's one of those, if you want to take a vacation day or whatever, this would be a good day to do it. So, yeah.
Yeah, that would be fun to do.
You know, more time to work on our podcast.
Yeah. It's always something to do on it, right?
It's true. But we appreciate you guys listening. I love our loyal listeners. I will get up the morning we post and there will be consistently, like, you know, the same amount of plays that you're like, okay, well, these people are like, they want to listen to it the day it comes out. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we haven't decided who's going first yet with the ships today.
No, we didn't really, I guess.
No. I don't know about yours, I don't think.
No, I don't think I even told you the name on mine, did I?
Nope.
I don't
Not
remember.
yet. What are you covering?
Mine is the USS Hornet.
Ooh.
I don't know if
Ours both have the SS. Does that mean anything, or does it just mean sailing? That I should have asked my sister. She is in the Navy.
Yeah. She's probably going to be so evolved that we don't know.
I asked her at least one question while researching. But yeah, no, oh my god. I'll look it up.
Yeah.
Okay, what's yours called again?
The USS Hornet. There's been a number of them. But
it sounds like a ship or almost like it could be a plane or something too. Oh, it's a big ship by the looks of it. Okay.
Yeah.
SS means
probably United States something.
No, but mine has an SS and it's not from the States. SS. Oh, it means the vessel's mode of propulsion. SS is a screw steamer. MV is a motor vessel. Or PS is a paddle steamer.
What's a USS?
Probably United States screw steamer. I don't know. That one might have the country in there. I'm guessing. Or RMS is Royal Mail Ship.
What does US... Oh, great. Thanks, Google. What does USS stand for in Star Trek? That's exactly what I'm looking for. It's boring.
Okay, sorry.
USS just means United States ship.
Oh.
Which is what I said.
So the SS can vary.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it also says for SS Titanic means steamship. Okay. So my steamship, screw steamer. Maybe they just took the screw out of there because that sounded interesting. They're like, well, we've already got enough words that are like seaman and questionable.
Yeah.
Oh my god. All right, so what's the story of the Hornet? The USS Hornet.
I just realized my ambiance lighting wasn't all on. I have flickering flameless candles to put on.
Flickering?
Yeah, they kind of like flicker. I have 3 of them I normally put on. Alright. So, the USS Hornet, I found off of like a list of haunted ships. And the first time I looked it up, I couldn't find very much about it. So I was planning to go with a different ship and then found out that one had even less about it. So I went back to this one and managed to dig up some info.
That's true. I don't think a lot of them are super long unless you're counting like the theories and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So mine, I start off with history about like the ship itself, and then we go into some like a little bit about the hauntedness in general, and then I have from a website I found, I have a couple of like ghost stories that were submitted by users of experiences they had on the ship.
Ooh,
Yeah.
cool. I like that.
So, for the history part of like what the ship is all about, it is stationed actually in Alameda, California. And yeah, so it's like open for tours and it's docked like permanently there.
Wow. I would
Yeah.
like to go tour that.
Yeah. So the one specifically we're talking about was actually the eighth and final USS Hornet before the name was actually decommissioned.
Oh, so they're not allowed to use it anymore.
Yeah, they kind of retired it.
Ooh, they do that with hockey jerseys sometimes when someone's
Yeah.
really famous or whatever, like Gretzky. Like,
Yeah.
you can't use the number 99 anymore because of him. Yeah. Interesting.
So the USS Hornet, I don't know if this is all of them in general. That's why looking this up was kind of confusing.
Oh,
It might have been this one specifically, but at least one of them was nicknamed the Grey Ghost, which was very fitting.
Yeah.
So the 8th USS Hornet was launched in 1943, and it actually set a number of naval records just through like different battles that I'll get into. And the ship was also the one that retrieved Apollo 11 and 12 crews out of the water once they had arrived back to Earth from the moon.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
So
I was recently watching or listening. I was looking at some list that was crazy twist endings, and like, oh, you gotta love an ending where like something comes back down to Earth, whether it's a pod that contains a human, the last remaining human, or like an alien landing on Earth or whatever. Like, they had the ending of that movie Life. I think it might be with Jake Gyllenhaal. And like at the end, there's like two pods coming back to Earth, and one of them's supposed to go back to Earth with a human, the other's supposed to go out to space with the alien, but they like get mixed up. Spoiler alert, too late.
I think I've seen that movie.
Probably.
I'm sure I did.
It's from like 2017.
Yeah.
Ugh, just crazy.
So, the Navy divers that were on the Hornet actually aided the Apollo 11 crew, astronauts Neil Armstrong, Edwin Aldrin Jr., and Michael Collins. They assisted them in like getting back to the Hornet after the capsule had hit the water.
Is Edwin Aldrin Buzz Aldrin, or no? Is that a different Aldrin?
It must be somebody else.
I think the first name might be different, yeah.
Yeah, Edwin E. Aldrin. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I don't think it's the same guy.
No. The Apollo crew were wearing containment suits because of the possibility of introducing alien bacteria. And they actually stepped out from the helicopter. So I guess the helicopter like went out and kind of flew over the capsule. They went from the capsule into the helicopter, and then the helicopter landed back on the Hornet.
Sidebar, it's totally Buzz Aldrin.
Is it?
Edwin Eugene Aldrin Jr., nicknames Buzz Aldrin.
Okay. Oh my god.
I'm a
so
dumbass.
weird. Oh, I didn't even know.
Me neither. It's American history. You know what? The world knows a hell of a lot more about American history than Americans know about the world's history. So
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say that. Hot take.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so they stepped out from the helicopter, and it's actually said, like, it's kind of cool that aboard the USS Hornet, I guess, is technically their first steps back on, like, Earth, even though it was on a ship. So they actually
exactly.
have...
It's not soil, but they're back.
Yeah.
Yeah, on
So they
on
have,
land.
like, the footprints of the path that they took, because they, after getting off the helicopter, they waved. There was like some pictures and stuff taken of them walking on the deck of the ship, and then they immediately went into quarantine.
Oh, wow. We all know about quarantine nowadays.
Yeah. They were kind of in like this pod aboard the ship for, it almost kind of looked like a little like submarine kind of room. It had a bunch of chairs, windows and stuff, but it was like completely sealed off, and it was in the ship. And they were in there for like 21 days, or like at least partial of a trip out of the 21-day quarantine they were supposed to be in.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a long time in a small little room.
Yeah. And
that's like the poor people that got trapped on cruise ships at the beginning of the pandemic.
Oh my god.
I would go nuts.
Yeah. Oh, I couldn't do that.
Can you imagine? No. You're just like bouncing off the walls, literally. Yeah. I don't know. Oh my god. Kudos to those people.
Yeah. Another thing I thought was cool, that President Nixon at the time was actually aboard the USS Hornet, and he welcomed the astronauts back to Earth, like from the ship.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. So was this again at the early 70s or 69 or something, you said? I should know this. This was the Apollo
11.
mission.
Yeah.
So 69, I think. Yeah.
So
but clearly I know, I displayed earlier, I always know what I'm talking about when it comes to American history.
Yeah.
I'll double check.
That's why I don't even try.
Well, to be honest, they talked about it in Outlander, and yes, it was July 24th, 1969, so I actually got the year right. Ba-boom!
Congrats.
Shut up.
So after this, the ship was restored, and since the year 1998, it now sits moored near San Francisco, and it operates as a maritime museum and is considered one of the most haunted ships open for tours in the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's saying something.
And it's pretty cool. Like, they still have the as far as I could tell from pictures I found, they have like the quarantine like capsule from the Apollo mission. They have at least one of the like Apollo like pods that you can like look inside and everything. Yeah, like as part of their tour on the ship. So that's pretty interesting.
Yes, yeah. That'd be really neat. I'd like to get in a little pod.
Yeah. I have some information. So this is more about the history. So the like structure of the ship, it's pretty much like the top is a long flight deck. So it was used for all like the airplanes and everything. So
right, it's an aircraft carrier.
Yeah.
They got real flat tops.
Yeah. The flight deck was 894 feet long, and that's roughly the size of 3 football fields. And interesting enough, it was actually primarily built by women, which was kind of cool. Yeah. And
that is really cool.
The ship weighs about 41,000 tons. So, it's heavy.
She thick.
Yeah.
Did you oh yeah, you said what year it was. It was the 60s. Okay. No, that's really cool that women built it. That's really awesome.
Or this one specifically was launched in 1943.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's around the time of the Philadelphia experiment. That reminds me of, which had a ship involved, which I think I covered briefly when I covered Project Pegasus on Patreon.
Maybe. I don't remember.
It's, because there's so many project ones. It's really, it's really hard. But basically there's one where the ship, the USS Eldridge, is supposedly sent back in time during like a an experiment in the US in like 1943, and it like went to like the 80s for a few minutes or something, and then like came back, and then like some of the sail like it didn't come back all the right way. Like if it was Harry
Yeah.
Potter, you would say they got splinched because some of the people were like stuck in the walls supposedly and stuff like that.
Weird.
And
No, I don't remember anything about that.
it's weird. Like yeah, we could probably do a like a deep dive on that one. Like I said, I don't think I think I just touched on it maybe in another case.
But the Hornet has aboard has a full hospital. There's 3 barber shops. There was a tailor shop, a cobbler shop, and there were 7 galleys.
Okay,
huge.
that's kitchens.
Yeah. There was a 3,200 Navy crew members serving aboard, and then as well as a small group of Marines were also assigned to the ship. And
Okay.
yeah, from what information I found, it said that some of the Marines didn't like the assignment of working on the Hornet because it was considered to be, like, pretty boring, I guess.
Oh, boo-hoo.
Yeah.
Poor babies.
It said that the Hornet was capable of carrying up to 300 torpedoes, and it regularly carried 40 planes aboard, as well as 1.5 million gallons of fuel for the ship engines, and then a separate 900,000 gallons of fuel for the planes.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's a lot of gas.
Yeah. And so the, like, tanks that held either the fuel or the oil that was to be used on for whatever purposes needed, as they were drained, they could end up becoming, like, unbalanced and cause the ship to tip. So there was, like, gauges set up to monitor the level throughout all of these different tanks on the ship, and this was helped to move, like, balance the ship and keep it from tipping or anything, and then they were able to, like, move fuel from one tank to another to, like, keep this balanced. So they figured all that out.
Kind of reminds me of the compartments at the bottom of the Titanic that they talked about. Yeah, because they didn't come all the way up to the top so they could flow over. It's interesting, though.
Yeah. I like this for the bringing it back for the fact it was primarily built by women. In the USS Hornet's history, at least the 8th, it was attacked 59 times during its career, but it was actually, like, never hit directly, which is pretty cool. Well, one source said it was never hit, and then another source said that the Hornet also has the distinction of once being hit by a torpedo, which ended up just bouncing off of the hull and then failed to, like, detonate or cause any damage. So.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Sounds like a hornet. Like in real life, something that just zips around and you can't ever fucking hit it.
Yeah. But this
I'd like to believe that's true.
Yeah. It's pretty cool, though, because, well, I don't know. I mean, people still died, I guess, as a result of the Hornet, because planes launched from it ended up destroying a reported 1,410 aircraft, as well as destroyed or damaged almost 1.3 million tons of enemy shipping. So,
wow.
Even though it didn't have any damage, I guess, it caused a lot of damage through a bunch of different wars.
Right. I mean, they're big ships, aircraft carriers.
It's huge. So, earning service awards for excellence in battle, the Hornet earned 9 battle stars for its service in World War II, and was awarded the Presidential Unit Citation for its World War II operations, a distinction that only 9 carriers have achieved.
Ooh, prestigious category.
Yeah. And after World War II, it was used in the Korean War and the Vietnam War. And it ended up supporting nearly every Pacific amphibious landing after March of 1944. And the Hornet famously shot down, or I guess the planes from it famously shot down 255 aircraft in 1 month and had shot down 72 aircraft in 1 day during World War II.
70? Wow.
Yeah.
That's a shit ton.
Its reputation as a warrior in the history of the U.S. Navy is punctuated by the distinction of scoring the critical first hits in the sinking of the super battleship Yamato? How is that pronounced?
Maybe. But it sounds Japanese.
Yeah. So this ship had been declared by the Japanese as, like, completely unsinkable. So they hit it first. And
Never declare your sink unsink. Your sink. Never declare your ship unsinkable, dumbass.
Right? History has told us that time and time again.
Oh my god, unsinkable ships. I feel like that could be an episode. I have heard really cool conspiracy theories about the Titanic and whether or not it was really actually the Titanic that sunk.
Oh.
Because there were sister ships and stuff in those days.
Yeah.
As you might have heard of. Like that one had sister ships and stuff. So, in my mind, it's actually not that, unreasonable, I guess. But, yeah. We could do more ships, I'm saying.
Yeah. For the hauntings, or starting in it, it's not really surprising people consider this one haunted, because a lot of stuff, I guess, has happened in its history.
Oh, really?
Yeah, even going back to, like, the total, all the Hornets combined is probably insane, because this is the 8th one we're talking about. But the first one was, the first ship, named the USS Hornet, dated back to 1775.
Ooh.
Yeah.
It's old.
And the 8th one and final one had a 27-year wartime use that had reports of over 300 deaths, like, in total of that ship.
Wow, 300 people died on board.
I'd assume so. That's
yeah, over the years.
Yeah, over the 27 years, I guess. And there was a string of grisly accidents and other tragedies that occurred. So there was an accident involving flight arrest cables, and
cables.
So, these snapped at some point and ended up decapitating 3 men who were on the flight deck.
Oh my god. Final Destination 1.
Yeah.
Final Destination, the prequel.
Right.
Final Destination -1. -3. Oh.
Too soon. No.
God, I love those movies.
I think I've only ever seen a couple of them, but yeah, they're good.
Oh, the way the 5th one, or the last one, ties back to the first one, it's really quite a nice twist. Yeah.
You probably wouldn't be surprised, but there's been some, aircraft-related things happening on the flight deck, such as people that were sucked into air intakes or blown off the deck by aircraft exhaust.
You know, it wouldn't be my first guess of top deaths on a ship, but when it's an aircraft carrier, you're right, that just makes sense.
Or even
Gross.
being killed by aircraft weapons exploding. And yeah, this is full Final Destination shit. People have died from being sucked into the aircraft spinning props.
Oh, right into the propeller blades.
Yeah.
Yep, that'll cut you in half.
Just chum right on the flight deck.
That definitely happens in Final Destination, just so you know.
Yeah. I'm yeah, some crazy stuff has happened. Some sad stuff has happened as well. Or I guess it's all sad. This one just seems,
that stuff's pretty sad.
Yeah, I guess this just seems extra unfortunate. But it is worth mentioning that in 2007 there was a museum volunteer, and he actually committed suicide on board the ship in the middle of the day.
Oh.
And yeah, he was found in the engine room by a fellow volunteer, and this gentleman's name was Edward Vila III. And he was actually a volunteer, like, electrician working aboard the ship. And
Okay.
yeah, he was found hanging, like, he had hung himself in the engine room, and he had been last seen in the morning of the same day, just a few hours before his body was found around 2 p.m.
So they're, like, not out at sea at this point? They're docked, do we know?
It's been permanently docked and operating as this museum since the, like, 1994, I think I said.
Right, so this guy's not just, like...
98.
I don't know. It's not because he's been out at sea too long. That's not a factor in the suicide.
No.
Okay. Weird.
So the thing that I found, or I guess a few of the sources I found that talked about Edward's suicide did say that, well, like, the engine room it was kind of strange that he did it in the morning because they were giving tours, and that room is one of the rooms, like, part of the tours, but it is said that, like, nobody saw his body before another volunteer found it, which is good, I guess.
Jesus. You and your finding bodies and your cases.
Yeah.
No. Oh, that's horrible though, hey.
So they're in, like, what information was put out to the public. Nothing said whether he had left a note or if there had been any, like, indications of him thinking of killing himself, and they didn't really even notify the public if he had, like, any family, like his parents, kids, a spouse, nothing. So we don't know about any of that.
He just kind of kept it quiet.
Yeah, but he was, like, on the ship for the volunteers. He was one of about 150 people who were volunteering on the ship. So they kind of hold different positions. Some of them act as teachers or lecturers who kind of, I assume, go through these tours and stuff with the public. So they teach you about the ship, and some of them work as the painters and electricians, as Edward was, and some of them help restore, like, mechanical parts of the ship to kind of keep it at least semi-operational. So they keep it in, like, good condition, I guess.
Right, yeah, there would be quite a bit that would go into that, not just the tour guides and stuff.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So these people are, like, volunteering. So that's what he was doing on the ship. He wasn't being paid or anything there. He is working as a volunteer. But some of
It's still creepy, like...
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Right, but, like, I've volunteered at a historical settlement, and, like...
Yeah.
I was still there all day, and, like, you know what I mean? It's still, like... You still feel like you're, like, a worker there, and...
Yeah.
It would still be fucking creepy to find someone there actually dead. One time my mom just stuffed up some clothes and put them in one of the houses that was supposed to be said to be haunted, just to scare her coworkers a little. But it wasn't a real dead person.
No, but that would still... even just for a second, you're thinking.
Yeah, it just looked like a terrible, like, scarecrow, you know? It's just, like, a bunch of lumpy, like, bedclothes and a dress and, like, a flat little bonnet or something. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, so getting into, like, the actual hauntings here, staff and visitors have claimed to experience many supernatural phenomena aboard the ship. This is kind of just, like, a quick run through before I get to, like, the specific stories, I guess.
Yeah.
There's been lights turning on and off. There's reports of vanishing bloodstains that appear and disappear.
Vanishing bloodstains?
Yeah.
Weird.
There's been apparitions and objects that are reported to move by themselves. People have reported the feelings of being touched or even pushed when no one is around. Photographs taken inside the infirmary aboard the ship often show a shadowy figure lying in different beds, I guess. It moves around.
Oh, like Goldilocks.
Yeah. I don't like this.
It's too soft.
Photographs have been taken of a uniformed man tied to a chair. That when the picture was taken, like, by the person with the naked eye, that man wasn't there. It was only when they, like, developed the pictures that they saw him.
Ew.
Yeah.
I kind of miss that, like, with the way you have pictures you can see immediately now.
Yeah.
Like, it's somehow not as creepy as you, like, look at it afterwards and it's all developed and then something's there.
Like a month later. Oh,
yeah.
so creepy.
Unless you just throw them out like Erin from The Office when she's like, disposable cameras, they're fun, but we'll never get to see these pictures again. Just chucks them away. Yeah.
That sounds about right. Whenever, like, the film would get exposed and then you couldn't develop the pictures. I was like, damn it. What's even that camera from?
Oh, yeah, like if you find one. But no, she just didn't understand them in that scene. And she was just like, you just take a bunch of pictures and then you just throw them away. Disposable.
You're like, you get it, but not quite.
You tried, honey.
People have also reported hearing voices of men talking, as well as footsteps, and even, like, hatches and doors slamming shut. Yeah. So the museum itself offers kind of like a 1 hour long paranormal investigation tour. And they offer a separate package which even allows you to spend the night, like, sleeping on the ship. For extra creepiness.
Would you do that?
I don't think I could with some of the stories I'm about to tell you.
Oh my god.
Because some of it's from people who slept there, and I'm like, no thanks.
Yeah, I wonder, because there's something that's just so creepy about a ship. Hotels are creepy. Ships, somehow I would argue even creepier.
Yeah.
You're just more isolated, because you're usually out on the water, and like...
Yeah.
Okay.
So these, like, they were listed as ghost stories. The list I found them from was eastbaytimes.com. So I just copied them. They had them, like, named and stuff, but I think they got them from a separate site. I don't think these were, like, submitted to them. So I'm not sure what the original sources were, but these what I had found compiled from eastbaytimes.com. So the first one they titled was the Dress Whites Ghost. So this one's actually really, really common that people see. It's a ghost that's wearing, like, the ceremonial, like, dress whites uniform.
Okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
Like the cliche, like, all white, I'm in the Navy costume.
Well, that was just, maybe I think that was more of the times.
Yeah.
Because I literally have never seen people in the white ones nowadays. They do all seem to be darker colors, like navy or black or whatever. Yeah. But interesting. Yeah, no, I can totally picture what you're saying, though. Yeah. It's
yeah,
like
a little sailor
in the
hat.
Navy.
Yeah.
So maybe they got a little, like, red, like ascot or scarf or whatever.
Probably.
Little cap.
So this story was attributed to somebody named Bob E.
Oh.
Yeah, so thanks, Bob.
Bobby.
Yeah. So it says, quote, I was volunteering on the USS Hornet with a group of my fellow U.S. Coast Guardsmen. We were painting a compartment, and a few of us were wearing white Tyvek paper suits.
Okay.
So those are probably just
familiar.
Like to protect your clothing, I guess. And
right.
Our paint was starting to run low. I went off in search of the Hornet worker who was supplying our paint, and I got lost in the process. as I wandered the passageways, I came off, and then in brackets, side passage onto the starboard main passageway that was one deck below the hangar deck. I saw what I thought was one of my co-workers stepping off the main hall onto a side passage about 25 feet from me, or 25 feet away from me. I called out to him, but he kept walking, and when I got to the hall he stepped into, there was a chain blocking the entrance, and it was an empty compartment. Needless to say, I was confused, but I kept walking and eventually found my way back to the room we were painting. When I saw the coworker I thought I had seen earlier, I mentioned to him that I'd called to him in the passageway, but he told me that he hadn't left the room for about an hour.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Later, when I mentioned this to the Hornet employees, one lady said that I had seen, quote, the dress white's ghost, apparently an apparition of a sailor wearing his dress white uniform.
And he probably just looked like the other guy's friend.
Yeah. Because I guess, yeah, he'd be wearing, like, that white painting uniform. So that makes sense.
Yeah, you could easily mistake your buddy if they had similar, like, features or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Creepy.
So the next one was titled Ignored by Officer, and it was submitted by Kathleen. This one says, my husband and I went with my aunt to tour the USS Hornet. At the end of the day, when the tours were closing down, my husband dragged me into a section of the ship that was obviously not open to tourists.
Goddamn husbands. What the fuck, buddy?
The hallways were dark, the side rooms had bed frames tossed into them, debris was strewn all over like a trash heap. I was getting nervous we would either get lost or get into trouble for being in a section that was closed. Suddenly, a full uniformed officer came from around the corner. I knew for sure we were in trouble, but he walked right past us. He never made eye contact, no acknowledgement of our presence whatsoever. He then turned into one of the rooms about 10 feet ahead. We followed behind him, and when passing the room he went into, again piled high with bed frames and whatnot, he was gone. I told my husband we had to get out of there. Just then my camera crashed to the floor, and the camera head came apart from like its neck strap. And it says, I have owned this camera for 8 years. Never before and never since has the camera ever come off the strap. I think back now and think what set off the alarms was the lack of air movement as he walked by, and the no acknowledgement we were even there. I truly believe we saw a ghost. Like that. I feel like it's probably the same, like, dress whites officer, maybe.
Yeah, that would probably stand to reason.
Mm-hmm.
Just hanging around.
Yeah, he seems to be, like, the most common one that people talk about as the dress whites.
So he doesn't seem super, like, malevolent or mean?
No, none of these, like, from what I found, none of these, like, are malicious or hurting people or, like, doing much. So
I love a friendly ghost.
Yeah.
Casper the Friendly. No. That's nice, though.
Yeah. The next one's titled Cryptic Comment by Julia. It says,
Julia Gulia.
Yeah.
Sorry, wedding singer.
I was on a sleepover along with a friend, her mom, and my mom. I thought it would be normal. I was wrong.
Famous last words.
Yeah. I had just turned out my reading light, and I was on the third bunk, because they had them kind of stacked into, like, towers, I guess. So there'd be, like, 3, and there wasn't much room in between the, like, layers of them. So she was on the third bunk, my friend was sleeping beside me, but nobody was under me. I tried to go to sleep when I felt 3 pushes below me like I was being woken up. So I got up, I looked around, and saw a white light in the corner, and saw 2 sailor ghosts. And one said to the other, quote, "Watch that one. First I pinched myself and it hurt. Unfortunately, I was the only one awake, so nobody else saw." That's creepy.
Oh, shit. That would have to be annoying. You're like, come on! Somebody else just fucking wake up!
Yeah. Ugh. Especially, like, the pictures of these bunks that you'd be sleeping in, and it's essentially, like, almost like a hammock, but it's like a sheet. So they are kind of just, like... So, like, imagine getting... You'd feel, like, if you got pushed from that, it's not... We're not talking, like, through a mattress or, like, cot or anything. It's, like, a piece of fabric that's hanging you. So you would feel a push through that.
Oh, yeah, because that was common for that, like, your bed on a ship to just be a hammock because, I mean, they couldn't afford to have friggin' mattresses. Like, not that they had mattresses back in the 1700s other than straw ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just easier to have a hammock that's going to sway with the ship and whatever, and you can fit more men in there more easily. Oh, yeah, it was totally common to have a hammock.
The next one's really, really short. It just says passing comment by a Bo M. It said, Dad was lying in his rack. I assume this is like people that were sleeping over again. Dad was...
right, because you can still sleep over.
Yeah. Dad was lying in his rack and a guy walked up and told him, I used to sleep here, and walked away. Never saw him after that.
Oh no.
No thanks. Hard pass.
Fuck no. No.
Yeah,
that's a hard no. Oh my god.
And
then he just left, like,
yeah.
Okay, bye. Have a good sleep.
Thanks. Don't let the ghost bed bugs bite, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, he didn't say that he wanted the bed back or anything. He was just like, just so you know, that used to be mine. Bye.
The only thing worse would be like, I died in this bed. Okay, bye.
Right.
It's the only thing worse. You could have
Everybody had, I was going to say scurvy, but no, something. There was a lot of deadly diseases.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, typhoid, something.
The last one is entitled Weird Camera Troubles, and it was submitted by, like, anonymous or an unknown person. It says, I went to the USS Hornet with a couple of my friends. We wanted to see if we could find any ghosts, so we took a video camera. My camera was fully charged when we went in to the place where they did surgery. My camera all of a sudden shut off and said low battery powering off. I thought that was odd. Me and my friends felt cold air going past us, and we were scared out of our minds, so we ran to the flight deck and tried to turn on my camera. It was once again fully charged and running normal.
Of course.
Yeah, always. When I was watching the tape, I slowed it down before the part where the camera turned off, and I could see a light white figure in the corner, but when I was in the room at the time, I had seen nothing.
Creepy.
Yeah. Isn't that gross? I don't like it.
Yeah. I don't like the ones where you're like, and then afterwards it was right behind me and I didn't know it. Yeah.
Yeah. But
it's like, no.
Yeah. So that's what I have that's what I managed to find on the USS Hornet. So I found a few stories, but yeah, it seems pretty interesting. It's kind of cool.
It does. And I feel like it's one that I should have known somehow.
Right?
Because like I said, or I think I said that even the name sounded familiar, the USS Hornet. It just sounds, like a famous vessel I already knew about a little bit. But obviously not at all.
Yeah.
Not the full story.
No. Yeah, I wish I had been able to find like a bit more about the hauntings and stuff, but that was really all I could find. But
that can be the hardest part of the research, I find. Especially if you see that like no other podcast has covered it, and you just have like maybe articles, no video or audio options, you're like, oh, maybe there's not a lot to this case, and I really am gonna have to dig.
That's why I was happy I found like the stories from the one site, cause
I know. I love the little personal accounts. Like, that's so fun. I love it. You get, like, some history, and then if you can find some, like, personal stories, it's just, like, the perfect way to tie it off, I think. Yeah, that was really good.
Thank you.
The Hornet.
Yeah.
I never expected that. I thought I knew some ships, but I didn't think you'd pick that one.
Yeah, I almost didn't even the second time after I researched it, because I was having a hard time finding anything about, like, the ghosts or anything on it.
Yeah. Yeah, it can be difficult.
We'll be right back, and then we'll do your ghost ship.
After these messages. All right. Well, today I brought us a ghost ship that you may or may not have heard of, because I know there's been one or two podcasts about it. I heard it on the Drinking the Kool-Aid that I listened to. And it is the ghost ship, the SS Urang Madonne.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of it. I didn't look it up because I knew you told me you were doing it, so I avoided it.
Yeah, I don't think it's as famous as, say, the Queen Mary or something else that's haunted, but I think it's a good mystery. I love a good mystery. The mystery starts with the year it actually happened in. It happened in the 40s. That much we seem to know for sure. But as to the actual year, depending on the newspaper report, it was first reported in about 1940. And additional reports ran to like 1947, 1948. So I'll just say it happened in the 40s.
Sure.
It did. So, I think that much we can claim to quote unquote know. But yeah, this one's pretty mysterious. She was probably a Dutch ship. Again, it's mysterious. So
mysterious.
Well, we'll get to it, but it may have been Dutch. And it definitely was passing through the Strait of Malacca, which lies between Malaysia and the Indonesian island of Sumatra. So that seems to be definitely agreed upon as like where it was found.
Okay.
All of a sudden, a distress call is sent out from the SS Urang Madonne asking for help. It said, quote, "All officers, including captain, dead. Lying in a chart room and on bridge. Probably whole crew dead." Unquote. Followed by a frenzy of Morse code, which was either too fast or too unclear to make out.
Oh my god. Sounds serious.
Dun, dun, dun. Okay. Premise. And then an Italian officer, supposedly, a lot about this case is just, not 100% confirmed, But an Italian officer whose ship was probably named the Silver Star heard the SOS call, and he and his crew made their way toward the signal. It reportedly took them about a day to arrive at the location of the imperiled ship. But it was dead in the water, so completely still. It was not moving and just listing to one side slightly, so maybe starting to take on some water, I don't know.
That'd be creepy, I think, to see.
Yeah, I do think a ghost ship is creepy. I have heard that the movie Ghost Ship is not that great, but I do know there's one I watched. I don't think it was actually called Ghost Ship, but it was like basically a ghost ship type scenario where these kind of boaters were on a smaller boat and they get to a bigger ship, and then there's like it's almost like they're caught in a bit of a time loop. If you've seen it, like you would know the one I'm talking about, because it's like they get on the they get on the ship and then like kind of try and get off it and then realize that they're caught in this time loop now on the ship, and that one I thought was really good. But
no, I don't think I've heard of anything like that.
Oh, that one, I'll have to ask Pat what it's called. I'm so sorry. I hate it when people do that, where they're like, oh, yeah, you know that one? And everyone's like, no. But, it'll be in our collection, so I'll confirm the name of that one. But that one was pretty good. I love a good time loop, anyway.
Yeah. I like time loop ones.
They can be interesting. I don't know. It can just be a way to have a really good twist sometimes, even.
There's like these two brothers that have made like a trilogy of time loop movies. And
oh, really?
Yeah, and it's cool because all three of them are actually like connected. I guess it ended up being
the movies.
Yeah. So, like, the first one they released is, like, a guy... I can't remember if I had told you about it before. I might have when we talked about the time travel or something.
Yes, we've had several, and we've talked about several time travel movies and whatnot.
Yeah, because well, they made this movie about a guy who's trying to get, like, his friend. He's, I think, either an alcoholic or like an addict, like addicted to drugs or something. He's pretty much trying to plan like an intervention. So he shows up to where this guy lives in like the woods, and he pretty much like handcuffs him to like the plumbing in the rundown cabin he's like squatting in, and then is like, I'm forcing you to go like through, I guess, becoming clean, and I'm gonna leave you handcuffed here, and I'm gonna provide you food and water, but like, I'm gonna get you clean, or this is it, and I'll never see you again, kind of thing.
Oh,
yeah,
sounds sort of familiar. I wonder if I haven't seen that. Okay.
Yeah, and then at the end they figure out they're like in like a weird time loop, and then in the second movie in the trilogy, there's like a separate time loop involved that has where like the two brothers who are actually like the director and producer of the movie, they star in it, and they go back to a cult that they escaped as kids or like teenagers or something, and they find out that the cult is like the land that the cult operates out of has a bunch of time pockets, and they get stuck in the time pocket of being stuck back in the cult. And in one of
so interesting.
Yeah, and in one of the time pockets on the land that the cult's part of is the first movie. So like in the second movie you watch them witnessing the first movie as like outsiders because it's a time pocket. And what was the third movie? The third movie was like pretty different, but it had to do with like a time pocket thing too.
Right. No, but that reminds me of the one I just referenced, the Final Destination, fifth one. Just because it ties back to the first one in such a way. Sounds similar.
Yeah, the fifth one, Final Destination, I think is probably maybe the only one I've seen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, when we've been like watching some things lately, like with Rain, during the pandemic and stuff like that. Like, she's 14 now, and you know, she can definitely not only watch PG-13 movies and stuff with us now, but like really appreciate the humor of them too.
Yeah.
And stuff like, yeah, so we rewatched The Final Destination, but we, I think, skipped like 2 and 3, or maybe there's like one in the middle, like that's, people are like, that one's just the race car one or whatever. Nobody really rewatches it.
Jeez.
But, well, I mean, I think once you get up to 5, it's like the Saw franchise. Like,
Yeah.
the first Saw was so
good.
epic with that ending. But then it's like,
Yeah.
it's really hard to recreate that. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But no, they're definitely, they're good. They're worth watching. And I enjoyed watching, like, we're enjoying watching things with Rain now that she can watch those movies with us and get everything.
Yeah.
Get all the jokes, as uncomfortable as that is when she understands a sex joke and you're like, you're 14.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You can't really escape it. If your kid is
no, not at all.
If your kid is online, your kid knows a lot more than you think they do.
Right. Definitely different era than when we grew up and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, yeah. Better that than someone sheltered like a preacher's daughter.
Yeah. That's how...
Pardon me.
Yeah, that's way worse, I think. I agree with that.
Can be bad.
Mm-hmm.
Shit. Okay. Okay. So the Urang Madonne put out its SOS call, and then this other ship is trying to respond. They've called out via loudspeaker when they got close to them, but they got no response. So they did board the ship, and they were able to, and once aboard, they did find bodies. So it seemed like, yeah, okay, makes sense. They were calling for an SOS.
Yeah.
Apparently, these bodies were ghastly to look upon, having been found with, quote, teeth bared with their upturned faces to the sun, staring as if in fear.
Ew.
Yeah, a little bit creepy. And all the crew they found were apparently dead, including the radio operator who had presumably sent the SOS message, still sitting in the chair next to the radio. And even the one dog that had been on board was also dead. So everybody.
Wow. That's insane.
Yeah.
But that reminds me,
That's creepy.
of
Yeah.
the one ship I was almost gonna do until I couldn't find anything about it, and I went back to the Hornet.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was called, but it was like a ship that was frozen in ice, and they found the entire crew had disappeared like 13 years before, and they were found 100% frozen and like mummified frozen. And the one guy was like sitting at the radio desk with like his pen in his hand while he was like mid-writing, and he had froze like that.
That's creepy.
Yeah.
That sounds slightly familiar. Oh my god. Yeah. If I didn't just say that already at the beginning of the episode, I feel like we could do another ship one, because you can get some creepy ship mysteries.
Yeah, that one was more like ghost ship, because I guess after they left, they like, it was just kind of floating, and then no country wanted to like own up and deal with it, so they just left it floating like that for like fucking another like 10 years until it like sank or some shit. It's like, oh my god.
The ship sank?
Yeah.
Yeah, maritime law is crazy as fuck.
But it was gross, because they're like, yeah, like there was somebody like sitting upright in a chair frozen with like their pen in their hand mid-sentence and like their notebook, and then people were found like frozen in their beds and everything.
Yes. You ever heard about ones where they're like abandoned lighthouse? I think even one of those was recently made into a creepy movie. Mm-hmm. And then like shit's just totally left almost untouched. We could do a creepy lighthouse. Mysterious. Disappearances episode. But no, there was one recently. Yeah, like I said, it's made into a movie with like Robert Pattinson.
That was just a weird ass movie.
Did you watch it?
Yes, it's weird.
I thought it was based on a real case, though.
I don't think so. It involved him imagining having sex with a mermaid, and then him and William Dafoe get really, really angry at each other. And
that could be a siren. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It was weird.
Was it? Okay. I have not seen it, so I wasn't
I
sure.
90% of
I,
the reason I watched it was for the cinematography because it was in black and white and everything looked like it
mm,
was gonna like look pretty cool and everything.
yeah,
I was like, I
yeah.
didn't watch it for anything else. Yeah.
uh, well, uh, staring in fear. Okay. Oh yeah, so they even found the dog on board.
That's sad.
Um, the dog is always sad. And then also, according to some reports, the bodies had twisted postures and sort of contorted or terrible expressions on their faces. So that was another strange factor that people were like, what caused their deaths when it doesn't seem
Yeah.
like there's any outward injury? Yeah. So the crew of the Silver Star, having found no one alive on board the Orang Madonne, decided to tow the ship back with them. As they were attaching some tow lines, they smelled smoke and saw a fire starting to burn in one of the smokestacks. Um,
What? That's
yeah, it is weird because there was no one apparently on the boat, and
yeah.
yeah, like I said, although it says it was in one of the smokestacks, and that might sound like it's supposed to be there, it sounds like it was definitely a fire that they were like, this is not supposed to be happening. We need to get out of here.
Yeah, it just suddenly starts and everybody's already dead and you're like, who the fuck
Right.
started the fire?
Exactly.
We didn't start the fire.
Exactly.
Get
Oh
out.
my god, I love that one. It's always burning.
Yeah. It wasn't always. It
um,
wasn't burning when we got on the ship. Anyway.
okay, yeah. But it was a good thing that they did debark the Urang Madonne because just as they got back onto their own vessel, an explosion sounded from the Madonne. And after that, in total, 4 blasts went off in quick succession and eventually blasted the ship into smithereens.
What? That's weird.
Yeah, so it burned and sank into the sea.
Wow, like right. Well, that's
After the four.
crazy. They like just got to it and then like
Right.
had to
Yeah,
leave.
no one's alive. It's not known what's going on the ship, and then they see a fire and leave, and then it explodes, basically.
Especially because it took them like more or like about a day to get there. So it's not like this is happening in quick
It's sad.
succession. Like this is hours and hours.
Right, exactly. Yeah, for most, or at least some of the reports I read, it took them some time.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Weird.
Another strange factor was the ship's secrecy um, in its sailing, because there was no official records of the Orang Madon, either its initial sailing or the incident that was described. You know, where they found it and it blew up.
Yeah.
You'd think that would be written about, but
It dang
it didn't
glued
seem like.
up.
Yeah. So there didn't seem to be any actual official reports of this ship. All ships that had to be registered with Lloyd's Shipping, the official registrar that dates back to the 1700s, but this one didn't appear in the registrar at all for some reason.
It's the black bar.
I know. Johnny Depp was on it. Ugh. I
Yeah.
do love those movies.
I do. They're
I
so
do too.
good.
I love Johnny Depp, and I'm on his side. I don't know if it's all the videos Pat's made me watch, but I don't think that he was violent towards Amber Heard because he wasn't violent towards any of his other partners. And, like, it just seems like, you know what I mean? Like, they had a volatile relationship and then it got
Yeah.
blown out of proportion.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm not here to have the hot take on Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, but
No.
there it is. So, oh yeah, this is cool. Like that registrar dates back to the 1700s. All the ships had to be registered on it. You know, I don't know about all the cargo, but all the people that transported and immigrated by ship had to be listed on the registrars.
Wow.
Yeah, it's how some people in the Outlander series, people found each other through time. They were looking for their names on the ships if they can find them.
Oh, okay.
And and nowadays some of them have been uploaded online, and like obviously it's been switched to online, so the registrar exists still today. So the vessel's name translates to man from Madonne, and Madonne is the capital city of the North Sumatran island. Um, I wrote like the history guy, the History Channel, the History Channel, what's it called? Narrator.
Yeah.
If you ever watch Oak Island or Ancient Aliens, I think his name is Robert Clothworthy, but it's like, this is how I pictured someone saying this was in his voice. Could it be that it was simply registered to Sumatra, Indonesia? Some think so, but others say it's a Dutch ship. The area it was found in was then known as the Dutch East Indies. And that's like, it was found near Malaysia, Indonesia, but at the time it was known as the Dutch East Indies. So I guess that's maybe why people thought it, or called it a Dutch ship, was my understanding anyway.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, so there's been some investigation and theories into this reports. So Professor Theodor Seisdorfer could probably be called an expert on the Orang Madonne, having studied the mystery for over 50 years now.
Wow. That's
I
intense.
know, he's really into it. He cites a German booklet called The Death Ship of the South Seas, or Das Tollenschiffen der Südsee, which wrote that the cargo hold of the SS Urang Madonne was probably filled with potassium cyanide and nitroglycerin.
That doesn't sound good.
No.
I know cyanide and nitroglycerin.
Right? I know, I'm familiar with the word cyanide. I know that's poisonous. And nitroglycerin, I know that's explosive. But we'll get into it a little bit. If this is true, this could explain why A, the explosion might have occurred, and B, why there weren't any records of the ship or the incident. So, I kind of think that could be plausible if it was carrying something meant for one side of a conflict or another, and it's a dangerous material. They wouldn't want it known.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of plausible. So if a leak happened or the chemicals mixed, that could definitely cause an explosion. And nitroglycerin is highly unstable. So basically the slightest jolt can set it off if not properly contained. Which reminded me of a scene in Lost, which I know you've watched Lost.
Yes.
But they go and they find some TNT basically in the jungle. I think it might be in a ship in the jungle, but like that's because Lost really doesn't fucking make sense. Just kind of like our own history sometimes doesn't. But oh my god, I ended up like watching the scene again because I was like, I remember that. That was insane. The TNT is like, sitting in the jungle, and as the scientist character Ernst points out, it's been sweating nitroglycerin for God knows how long, which makes it super unstable, way more unstable than they could probably have picked it up if it was new TNT or dynamite sticks or whatever. They probably could have like thrown it around. I don't know. But because it's been there so long and it's sweating this nitroglycerin, which is really unstable, he's like, guys, like, oh my god. I was going to queue up the YouTube clip because he's like, like, you can't, what are you doing? You cannot touch this. It's so volatile. Like, do you know what the first person did that, like, encountered TNT or whatever? He's like grabbing the TNT and he's like Kate, you, give me your shirt. And he's like, he wants to wrap it and like try and make it more stable. And she's like, oh, okay. And he's like, because just the slightest movement, you don't move. And he's like freaking out, right? And then he's like, just the slightest movement can set it off. And he's like doing this whole speech, and you're like, okay, man, we get it. And then like at the end of his speech, as he's saying one thing, he like gestures too wildly, where he's like, dynamite, and his hand goes up, and then it just completely remember, and he just like,
I think I
blows
remember
up.
that.
Pieces of Ernst everywhere. And they're like, oh shit, nope, I guess we're good. Yep, that's pretty dangerous.
Yeah.
I'm like, you told that whole speech and then you're just gonna go and gesture wildly with it in your hand after you were like, don't fucking move, don't touch this.
Right?
You dumbass.
Oh. Yeah, it's been a long time since I watched Lost.
Rewatching that scene just on YouTube, I was like, oh my god, that was hilarious. And then Hurley's like, Jack's like, what? He's like, oh, you got a bit of Ernst on you, man.
That sounds like Hurley, yeah.
Oh, it's terrible. I know, it's terrible. Yeah, so that could have been the case. They could have been carrying highly sensitive materials on the Urang Madonne. It was likely in the 40s, as we mentioned. Not an exact date, but yeah, World War II is going on. You got all that. Then after that kind of comes to a head, then you've got, Cold War tensions and stuff. So definitely some shit going on. Some people speculate that pirates could have boarded. And the argument against that is perhaps, but there were no real injuries to any of the bodies that they found. So it seems unlikely.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure pirates boarding your ship wouldn't cause you to die of fear. Or, look like that.
None of the rest of that matches up to that theory, no.
It just makes me think of that Supernatural episode when Dean is, super afraid of everything and that little tiny dog is, chasing him. I think right at the end of the episode, it's like, yep, 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 at him. And
yes,
he's like, there's a ferocious dog chasing me!
Yeah, he has something I think they call it a ghost sickness or something,
Yeah.
and then he's he just ends up being like a little kid, super afraid of the dark and all these little things. You're like, you're supposed to be a demon hunter, what the fuck?
And I'm pretty sure it's that episode where, that meme of them opening the locker and a cat jumping out, and he does the really, really, really high-pitched scream, and then at the end he goes,
yes.
Oh boy, that was scary.
Yeah, Jensen Ackles from Supernatural is kind of underrated as a comedic actor. Yeah. He's hilarious. Yeah.
He's so
really
funny.
Good.
If you've watched
he's
any
had to play...
of the behind the scenes of Supernatural, you know
behind
how funny that whole crew is.
Scared of Ghosts, he's had to play a dog. He's had to play an old guy. He's had to play all these different versions of himself that just end up being hilarious.
Yeah.
When he's inhabited by a dog. I don't know if it's a dog spirit or whatever, but he's a dog, and he's the postman. Yeah. He's like, you. It's just it's so great.
I remember that, yeah.
Also, I saw a clip of him on Instagram today where he was on a road trip with his family, and Carry On My Wayward Son started playing, which is the theme song, and he was singing it, and he was like, guys, I didn't plan this. Also, it looked like he was driving a jumbo jet. I was like, what the fuck is that RV? You look like you're driving a regular SUV, and then he who probably his wife, is filming him, pans to the back, and it looks like a fucking motorhome. I'm like, what the fuck are you guys driving?
Oh my gosh.
It was huge.
Yeah.
All right. So it could have been pirates. It's always pirates.
Yeah.
But also, one lifeboat was missing from the ship. That was interesting.
Oh, okay. So maybe somebody got away. Or
it
something.
Oh, yeah, like that movie Life. Especially, though, because some reports said that all were dead, but there was no definitive number of people that were supposed to be on the boat.
Yeah, you got no records and nothing.
Yeah, so it's hard to say who was missing or not. That's the thing. One report by the Associated Press published in the Yorkshire Post pointed out that the number of bodies seemed pretty low for the size of ship that it was. The report said that they found about 12 bodies, but had expected to find about 40 for a ship of that size. And most things I did read, I think, said about 12, although I think I came across one or two reports that said there was maybe like 20-ish bodies. But again, it's not clear. The first accounts of the ship to appear in North American media was a write-up in the San Francisco Examiner by a man named Wynne Brooks. He claimed the Urang Madonne was a 40-year-old cargo ship weighing 5,000 tons. He also pointed out about the name, which means man of Madonne, in Malaysian, that it is also considered unlucky for a ship to be named after a man.
Oh, okay.
So maybe we should have called it Woman of Madonne.
Yeah.
If it's unlucky. This is apparently also why a ship has a figurehead, often of a woman, usually at the prow of the ship. So women on board were considered bad luck and just plain distractions at best for the seamen. I think that's probably where the bad luck stems from, yes. I don't know for sure. But distracted sailors made the sea gods angry and the waves royal. And also in that vein, there's the Sirens Myth, which we talked about. I think you talked about.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, luring sailors to their death, being like, oh, we're sexy women.
It's probably just any woman on a ship filled with dudes who can't keep it in their pants and, like, try to blame
You've
the
been
woman.
at sea for 6 months. You're like, that rock looks sexy.
That manatee looks like a woman.
Probably. But it's interesting because I learned more about that myth about the women and the bad luck. So naked women were said to calm the seas. So
Sure.
I literally wrote like, sure, but
I wonder
so,
who started
quote,
that claim.
Who started this rumor? But I had a quote. This is the reason that many ship figureheads depict women with bare breasts, which I did hear on Outlander. Yeah. I'm telling you, so it must be true. But the watchful eyes of the female figureheads were also believed to guide the ship to safety. The ship itself was also referred to as she, because it acted as a protective mother that sheltered the sailors from an angry sea. Whole lot of figuring going on here.
Yeah.
But I thought the superstition myths were very interesting, and because of that, I included some.
It's weird how that kind of stuff starts.
It is. It really is. I'm so happy now that women are allowed in the Navy. I think I previously mentioned that my sister Ressa's in the Navy, so that was what I asked her about, was if they had any superstitions, as I was kind of researching any of them, and they don't really hang on to many of them nowadays.
Yeah.
I think she said they do. Yeah. I'll look again, but like a few things, like maybe some of the ones we'll get into, which are kind of like no whistling on board because it's bad luck and that sort of thing. So yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's one of the boating superstitions, is that whistling is not allowed on board.
I've never heard that before. Interesting.
I know. I actually didn't elaborate on that one, nor did I elaborate on the one that was like, no bananas on board.
Okay.
I should have, because that does sound weirdly funny.
Is that just like no Because you might step on it and slip? Right off the boat?
Maybe a lot of them had a little bit of a history and stemming in something else, but
Weird.
I did not expand on that one, unfortunately, because I was like, I am now writing about everything, and you know how I get. I'll be here all day. So I had to kind of curb myself. So all I have for number 2 is no bananas on board. Number 3 is avoid redheads.
Oh,
And
damn.
uh-oh. I know, we always dye our hair red.
Yeah. Mine's brown right now, but yeah. It's been a red for like most of my life.
Mine was like, it did kind of a darkish purple, but that was kind of faded. Also, watch your mouth on board. You are not allowed to say things like drown, which, okay, kind of makes sense. I get the superstition
Yeah.
around that. Also, bad luck to say things like good luck or goodbye. So, don't do that.
Okay.
And also bad luck to be swearing while you're fishing, which I thought was interesting. Another superstition about ships is that you never rename a ship. Which, if we get into myths about the Titanic, conspiracies, I'll have a little bit to say about that, I think.
I think
But
I
apparently,
might have heard that one before.
yeah, giving it a different name, it's like bad luck, I guess. I don't know why. Oh, actually, from my notes, I have it angers Neptune. So don't do it.
Yeah, don't make Neptune angry. Come on.
He thinks you're trying to trick him by calling it a different name. That's what I have. And also, number 6 is don't sail on Fridays. Apparently, that's bad luck too, for some reason.
No.
You also
What if you
don't
just
want
want to take the long weekend? That sucks.
I think we're talking big journeys.
Oh, okay.
And then also, this is cool. I had semi heard of this one again from some of my TV watching and stuff like that. But don't travel with a Jonah. Quote, based on the story of the biblical prophet Jonah, any person or object that brought bad luck to a ship was sometimes called a Jonah. In the biblical tale, the prophet Jonah receives orders from God to sail to the city of Nineveh, but instead he sails the opposite direction out of fear. God punished Jonah by bringing violent storms to his ship, and the rest of the crew threw him overboard to appease the seas. Any person perceived to be a Jonah, quote unquote, would be thrown off the ship as soon as possible.
Oh, so it's not people named Jonah?
It isn't, no.
Okay.
It's more like an unlucky person
I
at
was so
sea.
confused. I was like, people named Jonah need to be thrown overboard?
Right? And I'd only heard of the name of the story Jonah and the Whale and knew that that was from the Bible, so I was like, oh, okay, I've kind of heard of this. I don't know.
Weird.
Another weird one is don't shoot the albatross, which stems apparently from the well-known poem by Samuel Taylor Coleridge, The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, which I have heard of, but
What's the albatross?
Old as fuck.
What's that?
Well, the saying for at sea is don't shoot the albatross, which they think comes from the Rime of the Ancient Mariner, in which apparently they shoot a friendly albatross and have misfortune afterwards. They're a seabird. Leave them the fuck alone. They'll do their own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's bad luck to shoot those guys.
I wouldn't shoot any birds at sea. You need them to tell you where land is.
Fish. Yeah. But apparently what it comes from, seabirds were said to carry the souls of the dead sailors, and it was good luck to see one, but bad luck to kill one.
Oh, I can see it. Yeah, that kind of makes sense.
And finally, take care of the ship's cat. Wives would even keep black cats at home to bring good luck to their husbands at sea.
Aw,
And
somebody
then
that liked black cats.
I know!
Finally. Yay.
I think that's cute. I see how they could definitely be super invaluable at sea or just like on a farm or something because they're taking care of vermin.
Yeah, there's a
good little
lot
kitties.
of like mice and rats on ships. Probably because you need to store so much food, like for a trip if it's really long.
Oh yeah, there'd be shit, vermin all up in there.
Yeah.
So sailors also believed a few other unusual nautical superstitions surrounding cats, which I found fun. A ship's cat sneezing meant that it was going to rain.
Cat sneezes are the best. They're same with dog sneezes. They're just hilarious.
I love a good dog sneeze, but you know what? I think cats sneeze less. And
Yeah.
I read that animals, or dogs at least, do it because they're like showing you that they're just play fighting in a way. They're like being like, oh, it's all fun and games or whatever. And I was like, it makes sense that like dogs would do that more because cats are less likely to give a fuck what you think about them or how they're doing.
Yeah, like sometimes Bailey will just start sneezing. She'll have been like asleep and stuff, and it's so cute.
Aww. Yeah, that is pretty cute.
Yeah.
I guess a frisky ship's cat was an omen of a windy day.
Ooh.
And a ship's cat that licked its fur against the grain signaled that a hailstorm was on its way.
Oh my.
Adorable. Oh, but this is fun. While these sailor superstitions may sound absurd, they are actually somewhat based in reality. Due to their sensitive inner ears, cats are able to detect changes in weather more acutely than any other animals. Or than other animals, I should say.
Oh,
Cats
okay.
can... Yeah, I thought that was cool. I didn't know that. And apparently cats can sense the low atmospheric pressure that often comes before storms at sea, and this may cause them to act restless or nervous.
Yeah, I can see that.
I thought it was cool.
Animals are like so in tune with stuff, and I'm shocked that I guess we have like gut instincts about stuff sometimes.
But we ignore it.
But we don't
in
have
the
like
modern
inner
day.
ears that can tell us when like freaking earthquake's coming. Come on, people.
Good God, no. We hardly are like, oh.
I guess some
I don't
people's
know.
joints tell them
Yeah.
when it's gonna rain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me. Oh, so this one was a fun one for sailor. For a sailor superstition. Sorry. Get some tattoos. Put some good omens right on your body. And particularly, it wasn't just sailors should all have tattoos, but, you know, a particularly good one to have would be like that nautical star. I feel like you do see some people put it up on their houses, like especially in country areas, like not that I've ever been there, but like maybe Texas. You know, like a kind of a very pointed star or whatever.
I think I've seen it. Yeah.
Yeah, or also just an actual compass. So
Yeah.
apparently it's good luck to get that tattooed on you. Or, like we talked about a couple of episodes ago about tattoos on feet.
Oh, really?
Some sailors got roosters tattooed on their feet in case the ship goes down. The theory... Roosters. Yeah.
I'm trying to picture that tattoo in my head and I just can't.
And also, would it not fade? But, I guess they thought the gods would take pity on you if they see those tattoos from the bottom of your foot. I guess where you would be if you're drowning, maybe.
Roosters.
And they would scoop you up from the depths And what they thought it could have had to do with was roosters and chickens floating in their wooden crates to relative safely, because the wooden crates were relatively floatable. What's the word I'm looking for?
Buoyant?
Buoyant. Yeah, that sounds better.
Floatable? Yeah. Floaties? Water wings?
Help me? No. I love all the superstitions. They're so fun. I wrote down a few quick other ones without much explanation, like spit and pour wine before a journey, step aboard with your right foot, flat-footed people are bad luck. Hello, my family.
Yeah, hello, like 50% of the people.
Oh, also the next one is pretty straightforward. Sharks are signs of death.
Oh my
Doesn't
God.
seem like that one needs a big explanation or meaning.
No, not really.
But also, even flowers could be signs of bad omens on a ship, because of their association with funerals. Same thing with clergy, were not really welcome on board. Kind of anything associated with death and funerals, they were like, we want to stay away from that on our ship.
No dead bodies aboard our ship.
Oh, that's pretty inevitable, especially if you have a cruise or a voyage that lasts more than a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. It just happens. Part of life. Ringing bells were bad luck. Rabbits and salmon were bad omens. A child born at sea was good luck, and there was to be no personal grooming while sailing.
All right then.
Just have a kid out there, you're good, even though no one's bathing or shaving. The following is another possible longer version of the SOS calls sent out by the SS Urang Madonne. SOS from ship Urang Madonne. Ships with shortwave radio get urgent DH Medico. Followed by the second part. We are floating. Second officer dead on bridge. Captain and chief engineer dead in chart room. Probably whole crew dead. Partly. Then that was interrupted by the flurry of undecipherable Morse code, basically followed by I die or I'm dying. That was the last they heard of the ship. Yeah. It's creepy and sad.
It's weird. Like,
it is, and it's very mysterious.
Yeah, because, like, even, like, an illness or something doesn't quite make sense.
It does seem to come on really quickly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'll probably get to it, but we might have already talked about, like, it might have to do with what the cargo was holding.
Oh, like the cyanide or something maybe was, like, poisoning them?
Right. Could have been some chemicals.
Yeah.
So this was a fun fact. Speaking of Morse code, Ressa pointed out to me that on the side of the Canadian War Museum in Ottawa, they have small windows that spell out in Morse code, lest we forget, or n'oublions jamais, you know, which is like the French version. Yeah, so cute.
That's some like crazy like design thought. Spell out
really
words
cool.
in Morse code with windows on a building.
Yes, it's a very modern looking building actually too. I said it's on the side, but they call it like the fin because it juts up out of the top of the museum. But yeah, it's really neat. I thought that was a neat fact.
We'll have to post a picture of it somewhere.
Another account of the ship's demise appeared in a Holland periodical, Elsevier's Weekly, in January 1948. The editor claimed to have bought the rights to the story along with a photo of one of the bodies on board from the Italian officer that first got the SOS call. But then, apparently, the officer who was telling the story disappeared. Complete mystery. One theory has a lone survivor taking off in the missing lifeboat who was later apparently found on a Pacific island. He supposedly confirmed the rumor that chemicals were in the cargo, the potassium cyanide and the nitroglycerin, I think it was. So he said that, yeah, they had indeed leaked or mixed together in some way accidentally, but then he apparently died very shortly thereafter from his exposure to both the chemicals and the elements after the shipwreck.
Oh, okay.
So, still pretty unconfirmed, that account, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I did look up to try and see if it corresponded with the way the bodies were found, what potassium cyanide does to a person. Yeah. So I did Google it, and now while I'm surely on a list of some kind with the United States or Big Brother or whoever, but according to the CDC's website, potassium cyanide releases hydrogen cyanide gas, a highly toxic chemical asphyxiant. Makes you not breathe. I'm like, I can't say it right now, but asphyxiant that interferes with the body's ability to use oxygen. Exposure to potassium cyanide can be rapidly fatal. I think that could probably explain why they were all contorted if they were dying of lack of oxygen, I guess.
Yeah.
Sad as it is.
Because, I mean, if you're, like, choking, I guess you're probably, like, wiggling around and, like, trying to grasp at stuff, I guess.
I think so. I mean, I've had asthma my life, and I do know that, like, there's not much you can do when you can't get a good breath. Like, there's not really anything you could do, so you're just gonna get your body as comfortable as you can. And usually that is at least sitting up, because you can breathe easily. Or so maybe they were all, like, yeah, trying to kind of get into a more comfortable position. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
A freaky fact, I thought, was the area that the Urang Madonne probably sank is very close to or along the last known flight path of the missing airplane, Malaysian Airlines Flight 370, which happened quite a bit after. I don't have it written down because I was like, I really want to cover that one in like a missing airplanes type of episode. I think, and I think that the way it connects to this one, I was like, whoa, it's just kind of the same general area, but it's still neat.
Mm-hmm.
The CIA connection. A man named C.H. Mark wrote a letter to the he was the assistant to the director of the CIA, and he wrote to his boss on December 5th, 1959, asking about the fate of the Urang Madonne, and wondered if anything had been concluded about the mystery. He even went on to say he thought the answer to the mystery of this ghost ship would hold the clues to more ghost ship mysteries. But the director of the CIA had no answers for him. That was just kind of a weird side note, I thought. Like, somebody working for the CIA asked about it to his boss, but nothing is told.
Probably doesn't have clearance.
Maybe.
On a need-to-know basis, if they're keeping it off the books, right?
So if you'd like to experience virtually what the crew may have gone through, you're in luck. There is a high-definition video game, which I did not know, called the Dark Pictures Anthology, Man of Madonne. The first of 8 planned installments in the Dark Pictures series, the Man of Madonne is a, quote, horror-themed video game played from a third-person perspective in which single or multiple players assume control of 5 different characters that become trapped on board a ghost ship.
That's Weird.
So, oh, here's a mystery. Let's
Random.
pretend we're involved in it. I
Yeah.
played some Lost video games from the show Lost. I mean, I would probably do this. Yeah, there was more about it. They could make decisions based in their head or in their heart, things like that, and the moral compass affects how the ending is. And I know Pat has a few games like that where there's like different endings depending on obviously what actions you pick and what relationships you forge or whatever.
Oh, okay.
So it's interesting. But the game was inspired in part by the writings of Silvio Shirley, who may have gotten his information from the lone survivor that made it to an island. That one survivor, supposedly, of the ship. He supposedly told his story to a missionary on his deathbed. Not sure, because I think we said earlier that we thought that story was, told by one other person. It's very dubious and hard to track down the beginnings and hard to authenticate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other theories include insurance fraud or mutiny. Some ships were apparently called coffin ships because they were overinsured. Therefore, they were worth more sunk than afloat.
Oh.
And it's, yeah. I mean, I guess I could see that. I don't know if that was done on purpose, but I know they had basically like insurance for a long time, even if they didn't call it that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, insurance has been around for, like, ever.
Right? They're like, in case I die on this ship, what will you give my wife? Yeah. Finally, the most random theory that I came across about this particular ship was that it might have been carrying cargo on behalf of top secret Japanese military unit 731. I was like, what? But apparently this Japanese military unit was pretty awful. They were a biological and chemical warfare research unit that engaged in sick experiments on mostly Chinese prisoners of war to develop their anti-personnel mines and other weapons. So they would explode things, study the effects on their victims, and other horrible experiments.
That's not good.
Very sick stuff. Very, if anyone has heard of Joseph Mengele, the Nazi fucking, doctor
Fuck
who
him.
experimented. Yeah. I was going to say, I don't know, lots of people have heard his name. He was pretty fucking sick fuck. Experimenting on prisoners at Auschwitz. This was like basically very much just as disgusting, and yeah, I was like, oh my god, this could be a whole other case that I wouldn't want to do.
No, I don't like that kind of stuff.
No,
Stay away from
but
it.
it's true. But at the same time, just because we don't like stuff, it can be hard just to like almost learn about it or know that it was real. I had to remind myself that, as we're talking about, in this case, the theory was about a Japanese military unit. I was like, yeah, they were kind of buddies, Japanese, with the other Axis powers in World War II, which were Italy and Germany. And sometimes you forget who was Germany's buddies in the war.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's a whole other segment. We're all capable of evil as human beings. That's just the way we are. And to top this off, an article on allthat'sinteresting.com called this military unit in Japan an assembly line of weaponized diseases that, if fully deployed, could have killed everyone on Earth several times over. To keep it short, they did tests on the effects of frostbite, vivisection, which is opening people up without anesthesia to study the living organs, weapons testing, syphilis testing, raping women to impregnate them so they could test injuries on pregnant women, and finally, germ warfare. Sorry, they did some really fucked up things.
It makes sense if they were involved then, based on what was found on the ship, or what they say was on the ship.
Right, that's the only connection that people can make. They don't really have any proof. They're just like, I guess because of the chemicals found on board that they could have had to do with chemicals needed for these horrible experiments they were putting people through.
Yeah.
That's my only explanation. But anyway, guys, that was Sinister Ships. Thank you for sticking with us through another slightly dark one.
Yeah. What did we decide our next episode is technically a Patreon.
That we're recording.
Yeah.
Yes, you guys should join Patreon, just saying. Because I think it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, it should be fun.
It's kind of had to do with bugs.
Yeah.
Etymology. See,
Yeah.
I always want to say it wrong and say the one that means to do with the meaning of words. Entomology.
Entomology.
Yeah, whatever the difference is. But yeah,
etymology.
we're going to do like etymology. I was like, we'll call it like forensic files or something like that. 'Cause it's going to be very forensic and interesting, I think.
Yeah. How they figure out all that stuff is crazy.
Oh my god. I know, and then sometimes they come back and say that, like, you know what, this science wasn't as scientific as we thought. Or, like, you know, blood spatter isn't as concrete as we thought. And we gotta try again. So check that out on Patreon, where even before that, you can get our Warrens episode, where we dug deep into their life and times and several of the true stories behind the Warrens, or the Conjuring movies.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. And other than that, yes, next time will be, as we decided, True Crime Cults Edition.
Yeah. It's gonna,
I think,
be fun, I think. Well,
oh yeah.
Maybe we'll try and do some ones that, like Wine and Crime did, their lesser known cults. Well,
there's one I've heard about this year, even, that I hadn't heard about before. So there's a few to choose from that are unknown, I think. Yeah. So you guys should definitely tune in next time. But until then, thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate it. It's the best thing you can do. And to like and subscribe, you know, wherever you can. Give us a review and just let somebody else know.
Yeah.
What's your favorite podcast?
And Alanna informed me we're added on Good Pod, you said? App. So
yes, Good Pods app.
Yeah, you
good
can...
place to rate and review podcasts and stuff like that.
So that's one other way you can let us know what you like.
It really helps support the show. Yes.
Yeah.
We always want to stay free for you guys, but yeah, since we appreciate anything that helps support the show, as we manage and produce and all that and host it for you. So yeah, thank you so much for listening. We love you guys.
Until next time, bye.
Bye.
This has been Castles and Cryptids. You can listen to our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Anchor, Breaker, Pocket Cast, and our YouTube channel. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Reddit. On our website, you can listen to all of our episodes as well as view pictures for each of our segments. Check out our Patreon page to view all of our tiers and become a Patreon supporter today to unlock monthly bonus episodes and behind-the-scenes content. We are working on an Ask Us Anything. You can submit questions by social media or by email at castlesandcryptids@gmail.com. Do you have a spooky ghost story, a creepy cryptid sighting, or a thrilling true crime tale you would like to share and have us include in a future episode? Send us your listener story by social media or by email. Please include the name that you would like mentioned. Our music is by Kobe Fair. Our logo and artwork is by Antonio Garcia. Thanks for listening.